So I've been hard at work for the past, man, I want to say month and a half with prep work, actually getting started on this, I guess you could say, kind of renovation. I guess kind of like a home theater upgrade. But yeah, I've been pretty much just putting all my free time when I'm not at work and doing other stuff just in here. And it's taken a while, as with DIY and, you know, having a life, having a day job, friends, family. I haven't had very much time to post anything, videos and stuff. I'm trying to focus on this because I want to get this done. And I'm almost done for the first stage. So this wall is complete. I have to redo part of that wall because I messed up like an idiot on something. So I'm going to have to take the fabric down on one piece. Right now, I'm going to tackle this window right here. And I have two windows. One of them is already done, but I have this window here. Once I complete this section, this wall will pretty much be done. And then I just have to do the sides over here. But I want to tell you about how I'm doing this and kind of why I'm doing this with the window. So I'm gonna pass this over to my past self, go back to the back of the room because that part's done, and then I'm going to show you or tell you what I'm doing differently from what I did with the rest of the room, and why I specifically chose to go in a little bit different direction with the window. So this is the back of the room. This is literally the last piece of this wall, my right wall, that I need to finish. But I wanted to show you what it looks like. So I have the 1-inch track, and then this is the 1-inch Owens Corning. I think this is 24 by 48. They come in 12, and then you can get them in 2 inches, but they only come in 6. So I did a couple sheets here. These are full, I think 24 by 48 by, yeah, 24 by 48. Then I had to cut one a little bit. I have to do the bottom down here. But I did something a little bit different. So this one right here is where my window was. And then right here, I've got a 2x4 where the speaker's mounted, which I'll talk about. But originally I was just gonna go 2 inches all the way across. But then I thought, you know what? I've got this window here, there's a cavity there, and I did the same thing that I did up front. I put some pieces of wood all around the window and then going through the center so that when I mounted the OSB, I had something hard. So I took some wood and I nailed it all the way around inside of the windowsill because there's obviously wood there. And then I spaced out how much the OSB is. I think it's like 1/4 of an inch or something like that, or one quarter of an inch. And I just spaced that wood about 1/4 of an inch back. That way the OSB would sit flush to the window. But before I did that, I put some acoustic stuff in the, some insulation, acoustic insulation behind that. And then I boarded it up with OSB. And I said, you know what? Because there's a window here, I want to make sure that nothing gets through as far as audio wise. So I decided I need to reorder some more track. Why don't I just order the 2-inch track, and then I'll order the 2-inch Recore from Fabricmate. And that way you ain't hearing nothing from this window. So I've got 2 inches of the Recore, and I'll put some stuff here on screen so you can see. And then I've got the OSB, and then behind the OSB, I've got the acoustic insulation. So you're not going to hear anything outside of here, obviously, other than the bass. You know, you're going to feel that. So that's what I did here. And, you know, obviously it's going to bump out a little bit more than the 1-inch double, but I actually like the way that it looks. So I did that here. This is the finished product. Love the way that it looks. And then to mount the speaker, so this is my right rear surround back speaker. And to do that, I just said, you know what? Because this 2 inches is here, this 2-inch track, I need something that's gonna bump it out a little bit. So what I did was I took a 2x4 by 8 foot stud, I guess you could say, or plywood, but I kind of used it like a stud. And I just ripped it to the exact length, all the way down from the top, all the way down to the bottom of the track. I spray painted it black, and then I put some pilot holes in there. Actually, before I spray painted it, I put some pilot holes in there. Actually, let me back up. I took the 2x4, put it up against the wall, drilled some holes in it. That way, after I finish painting it, I'll know where the holes are, and it'll already be lined up. I won't have to try to find where the stud is and where the holes are. And then I took it back out, spray painted it, brought it back in here, drilled it to the stud, into the stud, and then I took the Crix speakers and I took the mount and mounted it to the 2x4. So I did that because I wanted everything to look even. I wanted everything to be the same length. And that way, if for whatever reason, if I ever decide to test some other speakers that have different mounts, I know I have pretty much almost 8 feet of mounting surface that I can use. And if I need to come off of that, then I can do something different. But that's what I did. So I've got the 2-inch track with, the 1-inch track with the 1-inch Owens Corning insulation. And then I covered up the window, so you would never know that there's a window here. The 2x4 to mount the speaker, and then I went back to the 1-inch. So this will be done here in a little bit. There's a knife here because this is what I use to cut the Owens Corning. It's very simple. You can use a butter knife and it'll just cut right through it. I recommend that you do this in a garage or somewhere outside, because once you start cutting it, that fiberglass is going to start getting everywhere. That's why I wear gloves and I wear a mask and goggles. That way it doesn't get in my eyes, it doesn't get in my mouth. I don't breathe that stuff in. But yeah, so I actually need to raise this up a little bit, and I have to take this off because I need to be able to put the fabric on here. And you know, I could probably get away with it, but I need to raise this anyway because I made a little bit of a mistake on the measurements. I need to raise it up a couple of inches. But yeah, that's what I did back behind here. So once I finish this wall and then I tackle the front window, this whole wall will actually be completed. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update and explanation as to what I'm doing up front with that wall or with that window, and then show you what the finished product is going to look like. And man, I love the way this looks, and it's going to look really nice once everything's finished. Okay, so right now I'm about to tackle the next ceiling project. So right above, or just a little bit above the main seating position, which is in the second row, I've already made like a little, I guess you could call it a little cloud. I basically wanted to cover up. So before I had these things. So these are some cloud diffusers, ceiling diffusers from Acoustic. So I had, I believe, 4 of these. So these are, I forget the dimensions, but anyways, these were kind of a pain because at the first I put some 3M strips on them, hung them on the ceiling, fell down. Then I got some 3M spray and put it on top of that, and there was always one that kept falling down. I don't know what the problem was. I'm thinking the ceiling is not completely flat, so it wasn't adhering to the whole surface, so it kept falling. But I said, you know what? When I redo this room, I'm just gonna take them down. But it left a lot of glue and stuff on the ceiling, and I was like, man, I need a way to cover this up because I can't just paint over it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to reorder some of the Fabricmate track and just buy a smaller size track because I don't need to do 1 inch. I don't need to do 2 inch. So that's what I did. I reordered more track because I needed to do that anyway. And I've got my Fabricmate shirt here. They are not sponsoring this video. I paid for everything myself, but I wanted to make some videos, and I said, hey, would you be willing to just send me a shirt that way I could wear it? I always do that with brands. I always try to get like a shirt, polo, or t-shirt or something that I can kind of rep, you know, when I'm making the video. And they were like, yeah, so they sent me one. I got this shirt free. That's the only thing that I got free. If you have a problem with that, you don't have to continue watching this video. So I did a couple things. So I reordered more track because I ran out, and I'm gonna have to order more when I finish the back side of the room. But I said, I wanna do something a little bit different. I wanna cover up where those cloud diffusers were, ceiling diffusers, but I also wanna get rid of this because these are just like some cheap foam diffusion acoustic panels that I bought maybe, what, 3 years ago or something like that. I don't think they really do anything. So I decided I'm gonna take those down, and I wanna put some of the, you know, make basically like a cloud with the Fabricmate track, but I wanna do 1/2 inch. Also, I don't know if you can see it in the video. Yeah, you can see it over here. I have 2 windows in this room. So there was a window here, and there's a window in the back that I already covered up. And I decided, you know what? Because there's a window, there's a cavity here, I put some insulation behind these. So I took some OSB, and behind the OSB, before I covered it up, I put some insulation in there, covered it up with OSB. But I said, you know what? Because there's a cavity there, and because I have neighbors, and the neighbor is now gone, at least the complaining neighbor is gone, I have new neighbors. So he moved out a couple weeks ago, and then within a few days, maybe a week, there's already some new people here. So we'll see how that goes. But that guy's completely gone. Anyways, I'm like, because there's a cavity here, I think I want to go a little bit thicker with the foam or the acoustic material. So I decided I'm going to go 2 inches on the track. So I have 2 inches here, or a 2-inch track here, and I've already done the back window. So the back window's done. I did the exact same thing. I filled it with insulation, covered it up with OSB, and then I put the 2-inch track over that. And then I have, well, first let me tell you about these tracks. So I have a 2-inch track here, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, the depth, but I have a 2-inch track here. And then I have the standard 1-inch track that I've been doing around the whole room. And then for the ceiling, I have 1/2 inch. And this time around, I said, you know what, for the ceiling and the 2 inches, for the 2-inch track, I was gonna have to reorder more of the Owens Corning. So I was gonna have to buy that for the 2-inch track. And I think you only get 6 with those. Same dimensions, but you only get 6. With the 1-inch, they give you 12. But I said, you know what? That stuff, it's basically fiberglass, and I have to wear gloves. I have to wear a mask. It gets in your skin. You know, I haven't had too many issues with it, but it does get on your skin, and it's not too bad. It does itch a little bit. But I said, this time, I think I'm just gonna buy their Recore. So Fabricmate sells a stuff that's called Recore, and you can buy it in different sizes. And I don't know what it's made of, but I like it. It's very expensive, much more expensive than the Owens Corning. But I said, I don't want to deal with, you know, trying to cut this stuff, because the Owens Corning, I have to cut it out in the garage so it doesn't get everywhere. I mean, I have been cutting it inside here as well, but this stuff doesn't, it's not, I don't think it's fiberglass, because when you cut it, it doesn't get in your skin, it doesn't get in the air, it doesn't go everywhere. And I said, I just want a hassle-free, at least a more hassle-free way of putting this stuff up. With the 1-inch, you know, I'll deal with that. So here I have this stuff that's called Recore. This is their 2-inch. So I got this to go over the 2-inch track, and I'm putting this strictly just on the windows. I have 2 windows. I ordered just enough to cover the space. I have a 2-inch here, and then for the 1-inch or 1/2 inch track, I got 1/2 inch of the Recore. So you can see, hopefully you'll be able to see in the video, the thickness of this stuff. So here's the 2-inch, here's the 1/2 inch. And you know, the 1/2 inch will sit in the track It'll just sit in the track like that. So you have your 2-inch. So that's what I'm going to be putting up on the ceiling. Now, I already did that right above the main listening position. And then this is going to go all around here. And that way it'll actually give me some legit acoustic properties. It'll break up this flat ceiling. Again, I don't really think this stuff even does anything. And then for the windows, there should be nothing going through that other than, you know, the bass. This isn't going to stop the bass, but it will help. So behind the windows, I'll have insulation, OSB, and then 2 inches of this Recore stuff on top of that. So they shouldn't hear any higher frequencies. Obviously, again, the bass, that's going to be, I can't really do anything about that, but it still should minimize it, you know, for the windows, because there's a cavity there. So yeah, so that's what I did. I reordered more of the 1-inch tracks so that I could finish the, so I am going to do something a little bit different. I'm always changing stuff in here. Originally, I said I was going to take this tone and acoustic panels and then do the same thing that I did on the sides. And I was going to put that on the little space that's, I think you can see it on the space on the sides of the projector screen. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to make it all look the same. So I ordered more of the 1-inch track, and I have enough materials for it. And I'm just going to do that on the side of both sides. It's not going to take up much of this stuff at all, and it'll just look seamless. I don't really mind using the tone and acoustic panels, but I said, you know what? I have to order more anyway. Might as well just order what I need. So right now, right after I make this video, I'm going to pull these acoustic panels down, and then I'm just going to start cutting this 1/2-inch track. And actually, before I take it down, I think I'm just going to use this as a guide. I'm going to put the track around it, make sure it's level. Oh, and that reminds me. So if you're doing this stuff as a DIY project, I highly recommend you get a self-leveling level. This thing is amazing. So I'm going to turn this on, but basically this will help you keep everything lined up instead of trying to eyeball or trying to hold up you know, a 24-inch ruler or you know, whatever it's called. Basically, you turn this on. Hopefully you'll be able to see in the camera. So you turn this on, and then it self-levels. So you've got your vertical axis and your horizontal axis. Again, I don't know if you can see this, but it sends out all around the room and then straight front and back. This thing is a godsend, because when you're trying to put this stuff on the walls, it's not that difficult without this. It does help, and actually I forgot when I was doing most of this to use this. But when I got to the ceiling, I'm like, man, how am I going to keep this straight? And then I'm like, I have this. Duh. This makes it so much easier because it's self-leveling. You don't have to touch it. You turn it on, make sure that, you know, the tripod is level, and then it just self-levels. And I can bump this, and after it starts shaking, it goes back to leveling. And then, so when I put the track on the ceiling, I know as long as I follow this green line, I am good. So I would highly recommend getting one of these. I bought this off of Amazon. I want to say it was like 50 or 60 bucks or something like that. Again, it's got horizontal and vertical axis, and I can turn off the horizontal axis if I want to. So right now I have that off. The vertical or the horizontal axis is off. Now it's on, and then when I turn off the vertical axis, it's just horizontal. So because I'm using the ceiling, I don't really need the horizontal. I just need the vertical axis. And then I can, you know, I can move this around, make it, you know, whatever angle I want. I can tilt it, and again, it's self-leveling. So right now, after I turn off the camera, I'm going to cut the track to the size that I need to get it, and then I've got plenty of this 1/2-inch Recore stuff. I'm going to cut it to size, screw it into the ceiling, and then the hardest part is the fabric. So I have some fabric here. So this is the fabric that I'm using. I got this off of Acoustimac. I think this is their DMD suede or something like that. It sucks doing this by yourself on the ceiling because I have to get this one end on the track on one end, and then I have to go to the other end and pull it taut. And it's very hard to do that by yourself. So I think this time when I do it, I did it by myself in the last time, and there's some little inconsistencies that I can see. It's probably not that big a deal. I probably won't mess with it. But I think this time when I do it, I'm gonna have my dad come over and help me hold one end and just pull it taut, and then I can just, you know, push it in with the tools that I have, and then I should be good, because trying to do it by yourself is an absolute pain. So that's what I'm about to do. The room is looking amazing. I can't wait to show it to you. You probably will be looking at it in this video. So, you know, before we call our theater as a home theater. Now it's looking more like a home cinema. And I think Shane talked about this in his videos when he was designing his theater. When you go to a movie theater, whether it's Regal, whether it's AMC, Cinemark, you don't have acoustic panels on the wall. It's usually just a fabric wall all the way around. And they may have some designs in it, and they may have certain patterns, but they don't have stuff hanging on the wall. It's just acoustic fabric, and obviously, you know, some acoustic behind it, and then the speakers. And right now I'm just blown away by Fabricmate, the track system. I was kind of leery, not leery, but I didn't really know what to expect. It's expensive. You got to do it yourself. Once I got one part done, I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff is amazing. I'm definitely going to be buying more of this. I'm probably planning on putting this in my different parts of the house, like my office, you know, to give it a little bit more of a professional look. But I am super impressed with Fabricmate. I highly recommend it. If I had a dedicated cameraman, I would document much more of this stuff, but I have to balance my time and content, and I just don't have the time to set up a camera and record every step, because I would love to show you step by step how to do this, and I might have some B-roll footage where I can do that, but I did want to show you what I'm doing. I've got a couple issues, or at least an issue with this window over here because the wall's not level, so I got to get with my dad and see how I can fix that. Otherwise I'm going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment. But as you can see, I've got both sides of this wall pretty much done. I have to do this. I have to do the track system, and I have to fix something at the bottom. I've got the speakers on the wall. I've got a little issue over there that I messed up. I'm going to have to eventually just pull all that fabric down. It's going to suck, but I have to pull it off, redo it. But man, this is looking amazing. It looks clean. It looks professional. And I did this myself, DIY completely. It's going to take a lot more time. You got to make a lot of cuts. You got to make sure your stuff is precise. It's perfect. It lines up. But man, once you get it done, it is chef's kiss. Absolutely incredible. I love this stuff. I'm having a ton of fun doing this. I'm learning a lot. And man, when it gets done, when the whole room gets done, I'm blown away by the quality of this stuff. And then doing it myself just puts so much more value into my home theater, my home cinema. I'm going to start calling it that because it looks more like a home cinema. Does it look absolutely professional? You know, no. But man, when you do something yourself on this scale, you put blood, sweat, and tears. And I'll have to tell you guys about that story, how I cut my foot when I was doing this on one of the shears to cut the Fabricmate stuff. Like I was literally bleeding out on my foot. So I literally have blood, sweat, and tears in this theater. But man, I can't wait to finish this. I can't wait to show you guys, and I can't wait to start having friends come over and just watching movies. The audio is going to be better. The experience is going to be better. The aesthetics is going to be better. And it's just an amazing project that I didn't think I would ever have the funds to do. And then I never thought my theater could look this well. So I'm gonna stop this video here. You guys will probably go back to future me talking about this room, but yeah. Okay, so I've got the track up on the ceiling. I have just a very small piece that I need to fix. I made a miscalculation and I'm off by like a couple inches, so I'm gonna have to take it down, or take one part down and cut it and then add a piece to it so that I can fit. And that's what I love about this track system. Even if you make a mistake, it's not like a piece of wood where like you cut it and you're like, oh man, I cut this too short, now I can't use this or whatever. Because it's a track system, you can just keep adding to it as long as it's straight, you know, with the track. And again, if you guys are doing this by yourself, do not staple anything down until you know for a fact once you get your track up, it's good. Because I know from experience, when I first started doing this, I did that, I made some mistakes, and I had already put like a bunch of staples in it, and then I had to take, thankfully I had a staple remover that helps a lot, but it's very time consuming and it's a pain. So what I do is I just screw everything down with the screwdriver, you know, sheetrock screws, and then once I know everything is good and it's time to put in the Recore or the Owens Corning, I go back and then I staple everything down. But I need to make a few adjustments right there, and then you can see I took down all this cheap acoustic foam. So I have a little bit of cleanup work to do just to make sure that the ceiling is level when I put the Recore on. But I'm pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to finish cleaning this up, make that adjustment on that one piece of track, and then I'm going to be ready to put in the 1/2 inch Recore, and then I'll be ready to put on the fabric. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to do this by myself again, and it's going to be an absolute pain, but since I've already done it, I have some ideas to make it a little bit easier for me. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Shouldn't take me too much longer, and I guess I'll check back in with you guys once I get the Recore up. Okay, so I am done with the track, and I've got the 1/2 inch Recore screwed in and mounted, and now all that is left for this cloud is to put the fabric up. And yeah, it's going to be challenging doing it by myself, but I'm going to get it done. So pretty much almost done with this. I've got the other cloud right above the second seating position, second row, main seating position, done. This was a pain. Doing this on the ceiling is just absolute pain. It's extremely difficult to get everything lined up, even with the laser level. I think sometimes I had it off just because of how I have my tripod, so I had to fix it. Then I did some measurements wrong, and I had to fix that. I had to take some down, take some of the track down, cut it, add some track. And I don't think it's actually completely square, just because whenever I would cut this stuff, or maybe it's how I'm cutting this, I had to make some adjustments. The good thing is cutting this stuff is actually pretty easy. Okay, so I bought a precision craft knife kit to cut this Recore stuff. I highly recommend you get something like this that's precision, because if you don't, you're going to be cutting this stuff forever. Now, this is the 1/2 inch Recore that I have. So you can see here, you've got a bunch of different knives, or I guess, you know, blades that you can use to cut whatever it is that you're cutting. So, you know, if you need like an angled cut, straight cut, beveled cut, comes in very handy. But yeah, this is the knife that I'm using right now for the 1/2 inch. I probably should switch that out for something else, but that's just what I've been using. And this is the 1/2 inch Recore that I have here that I'm about to measure and cut. So it's actually not too bad to cut the 1/2 inch. Anything bigger than 1/2 inch, I find that I really haven't found a good way or a good knife to cut this stuff, because cutting the 2 inch that I have on the windows is an absolute pain, even with the precision cutting, because the blades aren't 2 inches deep. you know, so you basically have to draw a line, start cutting into it, and it takes a few minutes. I want to say 5 to 10 minutes to cut all the way through. And if you have to make a bunch of cuts, then, you know, that takes a lot of time. But for the 1/2 inch, it doesn't really take that long. You can kind of cut through most of it with these precision knives, and, you know, within a few minutes, you've made your cut. But anything bigger than that, it's going to take a little bit longer. But it's pretty easy. You know, you just measure what you need, and, you know, make sure everything's straight, as straight as possible. You know, it's not going to be exactly straight when you're cutting this stuff, but, you know, use like a ruler or something that's straight. Like I have a piece of wood there that I can use to line up, make a few markings, make sure that it's straight, and then once you start cutting, you should be pretty good. As long as you follow your guide, whatever it is that you're using, you shouldn't have any problems. Biggest problems I had, like I said, is when it's like 2 inch, because the Recore I only got 1/2 inch, and then I got 2 inch. I think in the future, if I ever order more, and if I have the funds, because this stuff is pretty pricey, I might just, if it's not a big project, I might just stick with the Recore. The only thing is, it's much more difficult to cut than the other stuff that I was using, the Owens Corning. That stuff, you can literally cut it with a butter knife and it just goes straight through it. The downside is you're getting fiberglass everywhere, in the air, in your skin, if you're not using gloves and stuff like that. So, and then just here, like I said, you know, I drew my line. I'm using this piece of wood, and I'm just using that as my guide to make sure the first, you know, cut is straight. And then once I do that, I'll go back and just kind of see if I can just go all the way through. So I've got a piece of sheetrock that I took down that I had over the windows before, and I just put that over there so that, you know, there's a table under there and I don't cut the table. But yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. You know, I would recommend using gloves when you're doing this, just so you don't cut yourself, because those precision blades are super sharp. But technically I should be wearing, you know, protective gear, but I've been using this for about a week, and, you know, I know where my hand placement is, know how to cut without cutting myself. But you can see here, it's pretty simple. And then, you know, once you finish cutting it, or at least the first pass through, you can see the knife goes in a little bit deeper, and I can kind of just muscle most of it. This stuff is pretty tough though. Even with the precision cutting, like you have to make a couple passes. The 1/2 inch, I could probably get it in one pass, but I want to make sure that everything's straight. So you can see I'm just trying to muscle it as much as I can to get through the 1/2 inch as much as I can. And then I'll just go back and basically just, you know, cut the rest of it so that it just goes through. I could probably break this off and then cut it from there, but you can see here that it's pretty much almost through. And then I just have to make sure that, you know, I go, you know, pull it up and then just cut the rest of it. So the 1/2 inch is actually pretty easy to cut. It's just a little bit time consuming because the blades aren't exactly long enough to go all the way through. But using precision blades is so much easier. So you can see it doesn't take very long at all with the 1/2 inch. So that's about it for this. I'm going to attempt to put the fabric on, and hopefully this will be a little bit easier because this is much bigger than the one that's over the main seating position. But I'm going to be glad to be done with this ceiling stuff because it's a pain. It's 5 times more difficult. But once it's done, I won't have to worry about it. It's going to look better. It's going to sound better. And yeah. All right, guys. So I think I'm going to end this video here. I've got some other stuff to do in the room before the room is actually finished. But I think you guys get the gist. There's not really a whole lot left to show you. think it's pretty self-explanatory. I tried to take as much B-roll as I could. Again, you know, I'm doing this in my free time. I don't really have a lot of time to set up the camera and, you know, go step by step and show you guys. But I did want to make a dedicated video on Fabricmate and, you know, Acoustimac. I am a massive fan of Fabricmate now. I really didn't know what to expect. Thought it was going to be kind of daunting, and in some ways it is, but once you get rolling, once you get into the groove of cutting, knowing how to cut, you know, knowing how to measure, it's really kind of simple and it's really fun. And I'm looking forward to finishing the rest of the room, you know, once I get some things in place, once I get some more money, you know, save up for that. But I need to do some structural things in the back, because I think I'm going to build another false wall in the back to cover up some of the stuff that I did before. But this has been a super fun project. I cannot wait to start watching movies. I mean, I'm still watching movies now, but just looking at the parts that are finished, this looks so much better than what I had in here before. It looks professional. It's starting to feel more like a cinema. And I've got some other stuff that I want to do, and I can't wait until the room is completely finished to have friends and family over. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this video now. I know some of you guys out there have used Fabricmate, so I'm curious what your experience is with Fabricmate. What did you do? Did you use, you know, the 1-inch track, 2-inch track? Did you have somebody design it for you? Did you do it yourself? And then what kind of acoustic properties did you use? A Recore, or did you use the Owens Corning? I want to know all about it. Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, probably the next time I make a video about this, hopefully, is when everything is finished, at least the first phase. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. All of this is pretty much possible because of you guys supporting the channel. We just hit 20,000 subscribers. You know, it took about 5 years, but the channel's growing. Obviously, I would love for it to grow faster, and I would love to get to that 100,000, but I'm not going to jump ahead. That's probably many more years. But man, thank you guys for getting me to 20,000 subscribers. That is in the 1% of YouTube, of all of YouTube. I don't think you understand. There's not very many people when you consider how many people there are on YouTube that get to 20,000 subscribers. It's literally in the 1%. So thank you guys for sticking with me, you know, watching all my bad videos in the very beginning, and just watching this channel just transition and helping me grow, and, you know, helping me be a better content creator. So I'll catch you guys in the next video.